Hello everyone, I hope you are all well and welcome back to my channel. I firstly want to wish you all a very happy, healthy and blessed new year. I hope you all had a good Christmas as well. If you're new here, then my name is Mrs. Smith and I'm a Christian, and I walk about and talk about all sorts of things from a Christian point of view. So today I was walking in Sissinghurst Castle Gardens near Cranbrook in Kent in the UK. Sissinghurst is a National Trust property, so if you're a National Trust member, it's free to enter and to park, but if not, it's £13 for an adult and £6.50 for a child and £4 for parking. Despite being called Castle Gardens, there is actually no castle here, but there is a large manor house, a bookshop, restaurant, gift shop, plant shop, lots of walks. Dogs are allowed in the wider estate as well, and there's disabled parking with an adapted toilet on the ground floor. However, there are a few narrow paths in part of the gardens here, so if you're coming with a pushchair or a wheelchair, you just need to be mindful of that. But it's a lovely place to visit. So our Christmas this year as a family didn't really go how we thought it was going to. We had planned everything as a couple and had booked some time off work as we're self-employed, and we were both really tired and we knew what we were doing. And then due to unforeseen circumstances, nothing we had planned really ended up happening, and it was both a very sad and quite a stressful time for us all as a family, actually. And then I became a bit unwell, and I'm still a little bit unwell, and so that is why I'm a little late in getting a New Year video out to you all, and I apologise for that. But sometimes, you know, life just happens, doesn't it? Sometimes we think we know how things are going to go, and something unexpected happens and blows everything out of the water. So I was going to talk to you today about New Year resolutions, but with everything that has happened to us over the last few weeks, it just got me thinking about setbacks. How do we, and how should we, especially if we're Christians, deal with the setbacks that life sometimes throws at us? You know, those things that suddenly happen that throw off our day or our week or even our whole lives for a little while. We all have setbacks, you know, whether we're super organised or incredibly disorganised. Setbacks happen to us all because, well, no matter how hard we try, we can't stop life from just happening to us and around us. It is what it is. I used to really fear setbacks. And it wasn't really until I started experiencing chronic illness that I became familiar with fearing setbacks. And let me just explain that to you a little bit. So I've always been stupidly organised. It's my superpower, if you like. So usually when things would happen to me that could potentially throw off my day, I'd have been so organised that it wouldn't have bothered me too much. But when I started to experience chronic illness, I found that I really struggled, you know, to accept the sudden onset of pain and other symptoms that would come, like in the middle of work or in the middle of a busy day where I felt I couldn't let people down, or in the middle of family time where I felt like I was ruining that precious time with my loved ones, or in the middle of a holiday even, which we don't get very often, so that's precious too. And the sudden onset of pain and other symptoms making me feel debilitated and sometimes rendering me immobile would set about in me a childlike tantrum, if you like, much like the kid you see in the supermarket, you know, with their parents who isn't allowed that toy or that sweet. I would full on strop, moan, complain, shout and rant and feel incredibly hard done by, because that pain, that sudden flare up, was ruining my life in lots of ways, and I didn't like it. Because it was out of my control. It was beyond my ability to rectify. And I started to fear becoming ill. And after a while, it started to affect my wanting to socialise or wanting to organise things with my family or wanting to commit to anything. And as a couple, we even changed our work life so that I could work solely from home, which we actually love now, funnily enough, but still, that was a massive life change for both of us. Chronic illness was a huge setback in my life that could happen any time without any warning, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. It wasn't really something I could organise myself to prepare for either. it put me completely out of my comfort zone. So I feared it. I feared that particular setback more than anything else in my life. I feared it happening. I feared how long it would last. And I feared not getting better again. Because when chronic pain hit me, I couldn't just pass it off as one of those things and just carry on regardless. It literally stopped me in my tracks and took me off my feet, and I would completely crash. And I'll be honest with you, I would even say things like, why me? Or God must really hate me. And I have to say, I'm ashamed of the way I used to behave when chronic illness hit me. But how did I change that? I mean, I still have chronic illness now. It still knocks me off my feet sometimes, right? So how is it different now to how it used to be? I don't know if you have heard of the poem by Rudyard Kipling called If. It's quite famous here in the UK. But I just want to read a line of it to you now. Just one line. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. I'm just going to read that again. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. You know, at first this poem line didn't seem to make any sense to me. How is triumph an imposter? And how is triumph the same as a disaster? Well, the thing is, I used to see life as like a gradual uphill trajectory. You know, you sort of start off quite low down when you're younger and you get higher and higher and improve your state of living and maybe your career and maybe your house and your finances get bigger and bigger. And that was how I saw life having to be. And I felt that if I wasn't achieving that, then I kind of was somehow failing at life. But the reality is that's not how life is for most people. You know, life is up and down. For those few who manage to achieve that idealistic picture of life, great, good for them. But for most of us, that isn't how it is. That isn't what we experience. And, you know, we can try our very best in life sometimes, but still, it can hit us hard with all sorts of problems and issues, and sometimes they're completely out of our control. Kipling's poem challenges us to keep a balanced perspective on the highs and the lows of life that are, well, inevitable really, regardless of whether we're experiencing a happy triumph or a frustration of a negative disaster. True and genuine success only really comes to people who can build on their experiences and adapt to new challenges whilst still keeping a positive attitude. And that was what I needed to learn. Actually, the Christian Bible pretty much says the same thing. In the book of Ephesians, in chapter 1 and verse 18, I've got it here, it reads, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which he, that's God, has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people. And I believe that this verse is saying that both, you know, my salvation and my eternity with God, they're awesome gifts, you know. My salvation is by the grace of God through my faith in Jesus, and it came at the cost of Jesus's death on that cross. And my eternity with God is like a future gift that every Christian like me can look forward to. And that future hope should be a big motivation for keeping my perspective on life events. That whilst at the time seem massive, they aren't really, not in the grand scheme of things. You see, God is continually teaching me to see with new eyes. Well, through his eyes, really. So in Ephesians chapter 1, we're encouraged to see with the eyes of our heart. Seeing things in perspective is a big deal. It really helps us in life, even if we're not Christians. Seeing things with God's perspective, though, through God's eyes, is an ongoing challenge for me, I'll admit. And I don't always get it right, even now. But learning to see things with God's eyes has become increasingly important to me in how I view things that happen to me in my life. You know, before I would rant and rave and feel picked on. But now, well, now I realise that I never really see or know the full picture of what is really going on, or sometimes why things are happening. But as I keep looking to God, in the Bible and through prayer, I grow closer to him, and my outlook on life improves as I gain more of his point of view. If you like, when I look up to God and down on my problems, I gain a much better perspective of what's going on. Because, God sees the whole picture, like seeing the earth from the sky or from the curvature of the horizon, if you like. So I feel like, for me, having God's perspective really helps me during my trials. It points me to look beyond whatever struggles I'm going through to see where God might be at work in it. Like I said, God knows the entire journey, the beginning, the middle, and even the end. And we can only see one small part of it. And I know that when I incorporate my faith into my life, I gain a completely different perspective on my problems and even on the world. And those setbacks, well, they don't feel quite so huge anymore. Setbacks, sadly, are a part of life. But I feel like God can even sometimes use them to guide me through my life. And through them, I can even learn to rely more on God's strength to keep me moving forward and looking forward. So it's been so good to have you all here with me again today. I really, really do appreciate you clicking on my videos and watching them. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe so that you'll see as soon as I upload more content, and so that my videos will get out to more people, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Thank you all so, so much. Our work life is always much busier during the winter months, so I might not upload as often, but I will keep doing my best to upload as often as I can. But in the meantime, please do take care, and God bless you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.